having such, I guess, a deep heritage, how on this earth do you balance kind of honouring that legacy piece and then modernising the people experience at the same time?
You really have to lean into that heritage, and I'm really fortunate that we have that. There are so many transferable skills around teamwork. That's the role that I play. I'm a real advocate for people bringing their whole self to work. And how do we get there? Through our people. People are just the most fascinating. They are the most frustrating as well. But yeah, I do enjoy being in and around people. I don't think there is any other sector that is as people-centric as hospitality. We want people to have careers that grow with us. We want people to be able to, participate in this growth. For me, this is about being at the heart of a business.
Hello and welcome to the Meeting with HR podcast, the show where we are ditching all of the corporate jargon, we're binning the boring, and we're going to sit and talk about people at work. My name's Elly, I'm your host and co-founder of EDA. And in each episode, I'll be speaking with different people leaders from across the world to talk about what they're doing at work right now to make it that little bit more human. So let's get started with our first ever episode, and we're in for a goodie. So I'm extremely excited to be sat next to the brilliant Kirsten Lord. Kirsten, welcome to Meeting with HR.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So Kirsten, you are Chief People Officer at Corinthia Hotels. Corinthia Hotels is a luxury hotel group, and you have properties across Europe, across the Middle East and the USA. And Corinthia has a real rich heritage. It was founded back in Malta in the 60s, and you now employ thousands of people across multiple brands, languages, market. And you joined the business just over a year ago.
Yes,
is that right? Yeah. And you've been leading the people strategy and steering a huge tech transformation at the same time, which I imagine has brought lots of interesting challenges.
Interesting the word.
So you're right in the middle of shaping the people strategy at Corinthia. And before we dive into all things HR and the strategy side, we're going to start every episode of Meeting with HR by meeting the person behind the big Chief People Officer title.
Okay.
So we will start with a simple question, which is, who is Kirsten outside of work?
And it is an interesting question, isn't it? Given that actually I'm a real advocate for people bringing their whole self to work. So there's not much difference, I would say.
Okay.
So yes, as a professional, I'm a people professional. I'm also a mum, I'm a partner, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, outside of work, I wouldn't say I'm that different to being inside work, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
It shows up at home. The person you are at home is the person that you also bring to work.
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Nice. And how many children have you got?
Just the one.
Just
Loic.
one.
Yeah, he's 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely, gorgeous. And you have a sister, did you say, as well?
No, I'm a sister.
You're a sister.
So yeah, I have a brother who is younger than me, but obviously acts. He does act a lot more sensibly, I think, than I do. So
nice.
So, yeah.
And what does time outside of work look like? How do you spend, I guess, your free time, your weekends? I'm guessing lots of family life, things like that.
Yeah. So well, we obviously met at the Women in Football conference, didn't we, earlier this year, and that takes up a huge part of my kind of life outside of work. So I coach an under 13s team.
That's so cool. How did you get into that?
Well, I've always loved football. So I think it was probably because Loic wanted to start playing football, and the local team that we joined didn't have enough of a kind of player-parent ratio. Yeah. So the whole kind of safeguarding rules are obviously really important. And given that my partner Russ is a chef, he wasn't going to be around at the weekends. I was going to be the one who would be obviously taking Loic to training and to matches and what have you. So I offered and just got into it that way. And yeah, just thoroughly enjoy it. I probably coached the coaches more than I coach the boys on how to actually, coach and impart knowledge and different learning styles and patience as well. So
how to lead people, but on the pitch, I guess.
Absolutely, because there are so many transferable skills around teamwork and how you create a team and how you can identify strengths and how you can develop lesser strengths. And so that's the role that I play.
Nice. Is that every weekend? So you're going and coaching?
It's every weekend. So we do, and it's a fitness training on a Tuesday. We train on a Wednesday.
Okay.
We play on a Sunday. Loic has now changed teams. So I coach a different team to what he plays for, but he has 2 teams now, and he trains on a Wednesday and a Friday, and he plays on a Saturday and a Sunday, and he trains on a Thursday. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. So a lot of your time is taken up there. And your partner is a chef. That must be nice.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, one of the things about hospitality is that, you know, it's a 24/7 kind of industry. And I think chefs in particular are notorious for the unsociable hours that they work. And so I kind of dip in and out of hospitality in my career. And when I took this role, we made the decision that Russ would come out of restaurants. Okay. And so now he's doing more sociable hours, let's say, as a development chef. So still in and around the sector, but it means that we can kind of share the childcare arrangements and the logistics and what have you. So yeah.
You must get good food at home as well.
I get exceptional food at home. Yeah.
I'm jealous. That sounds so nice. And can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, your career journey and what kind of drew you into working in people and HR in the first place?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met anyone that has woken up one day, I want to be like a HR director or a chief people and culture officer. So that certainly wasn't me. I had aspirations in media, in journalism. So we were talking earlier, weren't we? Did a communication studies degree and a diploma in radio journalism, but part of the communications degree was in relation to kind of behavioural psychology. And I went off travelling, having finished uni, and ended up working out in Australia for a quite large retail company who entrusted me, it was over the kind of festive season, entrusted me with the recruitment and training of a team in a huge department store looking after kind of luxury goods, luxury jewellery actually, was our counter that we were on. And just as part of that, the synergies between, you know, how you impart information, how you communicate with people, understanding what motivates people, how you train people, how you develop people, all of that, there were real synergies with what I'd learned, obviously, and studied, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So when I came back to the UK, I did a postgraduate in personnel management, as it was called then. Awful term. Or is it personnel and development? I forget. Did that. And whilst doing that, was offered my first role as I think it was personnel administrator.
Okay. Sounds quite serious.
I'm
a personnel administrator.
My goodness. Yeah. And so that's how I got into it.
Okay, great. And then never look back.
Never look back.
Great. And for people who don't know Corinthia Hotels and the Corinthia story, can you paint a little bit of a picture about Corinthia? Because it's not just one brand, or I guess as I was introduced to Corinthia through a BBC documentary, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about the Corinthia story and then how you landed at Corinthia?
We're a Maltese kind of based business. Our founder, Alfred Pisani, is still very much around. He founded Corinthia, as you were saying, in the 60s as a restaurant in this beautiful building that was kind of a villa. That has now developed into Corinthia Palace.
Okay.
And it's a lovely, lovely story. Alexandra Pisani, who is Alfred's daughter, she's the general manager of Corinthia Palace. And that seems to be, for my colleagues who have worked in and around the business for a good number of years, that seems to be the rite of passage.
Right, okay.
Kind of learn your trade, you know, through the Corinthia Palace. So,
oh wow, so you go to Malta and like understand the brand and then about the family business.
Yeah, and even, you know, people who certainly one of my kind of peers now, our chief operating officer, he started his career, I think he was in the finance team at the Corinthia Palace, you know, so, and that's still very much the spiritual home, I would say.
Yeah.
And then we have a number of different properties in Malta, but our kind of business model is a really interesting mix of hotels and assets that we own and obviously manage, and then hotels that we manage on behalf of other kind of private owners as well.
Yeah.
As well as, for example, we have 2 Radisson properties in our portfolio that we manage as well. So there's a real kind of eclectic mix. But I joined over a year ago when there was a real kind of intentional step change, if you will, as to how do we develop Corinthia Hotels as a 5-star luxury brand. So although we have 25 properties in our portfolio, probably the one that was the most well known as a 5-star luxury kind of brand hotel was the Corinthia in London.
Yeah.
So now the ambition is that we take that as a kind of blueprint and as a standard, and there is arguably nowhere better in the world than London for really understanding luxury kind of hospitality.
Absolutely.
And we have now a real kind of strategic growth plan in which we plan to have 30 luxury 5-star properties in the next kind of 10 years.
Okay.
And whilst we're doing that, the properties that remain in the portfolio that either would take too much kind of investment to reach that standard, or wouldn't necessarily fit with the growth plans that we have, are being rebranded as a more of a kind of a lifestyle brand, so 3 and 4-star properties. And that's our sister brand, which is Verde Hotel.
Verde Hotels, great.
Yeah.
And where are they currently, the Verde Hotels?
So again, there's a lot in Malta. We have just reflagged one of our Corinthia hotels in Prague as a Verde. We have just we reflagged Tunisia as a Verde, and we have just taken over one in Portugal as a Verde hotel.
Nice. So it's kind of like different layers to the business, and you've come in and almost done, I guess, a bit of an assessment of where everything's at from, I guess, a legacy perspective, and honouring that legacy, but also looking forward to how do we modernise this? How do we create, I guess, a culture that can be truly global across these different markets, where I imagine there's very different local needs for employees, for staff that have been there for many, many years, and then getting everybody on board to, I guess, the future of Corinthia and what that looks like, and the vision that you're trying to, I guess, progress across the business. So with the group and it having such, I guess, a deep heritage, how on this earth do you balance kind of honouring that legacy piece and then modernising the people experience at the same time? How have you approached that?
You really have to lean into that heritage, and I'm really fortunate that we have that. Yeah. And so being very respectful of that is something that we as the senior leadership team are mindful of. It's now our turn to be the custodian of all of this kind of work that's gone on before us, to then take it into the next kind of era and beyond. So being able to really start to understand where we've come from, what our story is, what do we really hold dear, what are our values, what's the philosophy. And that's really something that's important for both of our brands as well, because we've all had that kind of that same origin. Yeah. And so making sure that every single colleague of ours understands where we began, and how we began and what it is that we're then trying to achieve is really important. Yeah. One of the things that we've really focused on is bringing those values to life. So although we might well have had a good kind of foundation on this is where we came from, this is where we started, this is what we believe in, these are our values, what we didn't necessarily have was a way for our colleagues to be able to demonstrate those through behaviour in a more kind of consistent approach. And one of the things we're really mindful of, we don't want to be so formulaic. You can go to you visit some hotels and you know exactly what you're going to get, and some people really like that and they really kind of relish that. What we don't want to do is become so formulaic that actually people lose their identities, either as individuals or even the properties, because you mentioned we're in different areas of the world, different territories, different markets, and so what works in one particular area of the world is not necessarily going to work in another, and vice versa. And so certainly through our kind of colleague experience and the service that people can expect, then we do want to bring about a real demonstration of who we are and why we do the things that we do in a way that people will recognise as being Corinthia and not necessarily a Four Seasons or a Mandarin or a Rosewood, whatever the competitors are doing. And then the products that we have and the buildings that we have are just, phenomenal and tend to have their own kind of rich heritage as well. So recently we opened Brussels. That was a very well-renowned palace, if you will, well known for its concerts that were held on a Sunday evening, and we've reintroduced those into the offering of a Sunday, evening. So being very sympathetic in the way that we restore hotels as well. And then we can equip the team with the stories to be able to share with the guests as well.
So they know what they're joining when they get the role and they're in the hotel and they're boots on the ground and they get, I guess, a bit of leeway, it sounds like, to bring their own style to that role as well, of these are the values and behaviours that you've set and this is what we're looking for, but bring your personality and bring who you are to Corinthia as well.
Most definitely. I think, there is so much emotional intelligence involved in hospitality. The luxury traveller, their expectations have very much changed. And we need to be mindful of the diversity of guests that we now have and that we now look forward to welcoming. And in order to kind of do that and to then anticipate the type of service that a guest is expecting within a framework, obviously, is something that takes real skill. And for us, how do we support our people in having the confidence to actually, to do that? And that's by, introducing a bit of consistency around behaviours and competencies.
And I guess in the interview process and the hiring process, you're looking for those things and hiring against those values and those behaviours as well.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. Very much so.
Great. It sounds like you're doing a lot of different things and there's lots of change going on. So what, out of all of the things that you've done so far over the last year, what has been the hardest thing to get right for you?
The pace.
Okay.
So one of the things I love about hospitality is the pace which we run at. It's like nowhere else that I've ever worked in terms of different sectors that I've been in. I've just mentioned there, we pride ourselves on being able to anticipate what our guests kind of need, what our people need. And we also pride ourselves on being able to react when things change quite quickly. And in order to really affect sustainable change, you do kind of need to slow that down somewhat. And to, you asked me, how have I started to understand, the heritage and how do we make sure that we maintain that whilst obviously then, changing and developing. And you can't do that. Well, you can, but I don't think it would be sustainable without looking backwards. Before you then plan on how to move forward. So that's been one of the biggest challenges, I would say, because we're all the kind of the executive team and the leadership team that I have worked on property, as we call it. We've been in hotels. We understand that kind of pace. But what we need to be very mindful of is the way in which we at head office are developing strategic initiatives, making changes that shore us up for the future, need to run alongside that pace of an operation that will continue in the same kind of manner as we do. And so making sure that what we're doing is well thought through, is structured, is communicated, that we can engage with people, that we are mindful of what we're asking the operation to absorb on top of what they do on a daily basis has been, I think, the most challenging. And then influencing that type of approach amongst the rest of the leaders has been the biggest challenge.
It's fast paced. Hospitality is amazing for that reason. And I guess the people who are the operators, and it's almost like a theatre production every day in hospitality, isn't it? You start and it's like you can't plan what's going to happen, the guests that are coming in. There's a film with Stephen Graham, I can't remember the name of it, which the whole film is done in one camera shot.
It's not Boiling Point, is it?
It's Boiling Point. Boiling Point. it reminds me, I worked in a restaurant many, many years ago whilst I was at university, and every evening was like a theatre production of the types of things that went wrong, the customers that you can't predict. You've got the chefs, you've got front of house, you've got back of house, you've got all of this stuff, and it's really exciting. And then to try and influence all these staff, and when do you train them, because you're operating, how can you get everyone together, because you can't close down these departments all at once and say, right, we're shut for 3 days to train everybody on the new values and behaviours. It's really tricky to do that. So I can imagine that balance of trying to keep the pace but also draw a line and say, right, this is what we're going to do and this is how we move forwards. Great. So you're also in the middle of a big tech transformation at Corinthia Hotels. How do you decide which HR systems, tools and platforms are going to be right for you, the legacy tools that you've inherited, and then assessing the market of what you want to put in place moving forwards?
I like to start with, what is it that we're trying to achieve? What is the outcome that we're trying to achieve here? And the people strategy is very much about us as Corinthia becoming an employer of choice. So as we develop our standing and our reputation as a 5-star luxury brand, we also need to be very mindful of how that sets us up in the talent market as well. So, and I'm always very conscious of making sure that so far as possible, we can develop a very similar colleague experience to what it is that we are asking of our colleagues to deliver to our guests.
Okay, so almost like a 5-star colleague experience. Absolutely. So they experience what the guests experience.
Nice. So one of our real kind of brand kind of pillars is around being properly inventive. So, and I think, I look at our colleague experience and I think, if that's what we are asking them to deliver on behalf of us and to our guests, how do we actually, influence that, motivate that, give them a inventive, innovative experience that sparks the art of the possible and thinking, well, I could make changes here, or that's a bit quirky, that's a little bit different, and so that's one example of what I'm trying to kind of figure out. How do we then get tech to enable that, as opposed to sometimes, which is one of my frustrations, restrict that. So to be honest, it's really difficult. There is definitely a niche there in terms of I understand that first and foremost, data compliance, regulation, making sure that all of that is clean and is well protected and preserved and can be used for decision making around analytics. But that should be a given. That's just the basic, really. We could still do that, and locking spreadsheets down and do what have you. It's very tedious, but we could.
The policy stuff.
But what I'm really eager to do is a platform. It's to house, what does our experience look like? How do we make it easier? You mentioned we ask a lot of people in hospitality. You'll know that, having worked, worked in it. So how do we make people's lives easier in the same way that we make our guests' lives easier? How do we make their life easier by being able to access their own data, to change their bank details in the knowledge that nobody else has kind of intervened on their behalf to do that? And very much owning their personal kind of information. How do we make it easier for people to, we talk about, we really want people to have careers that are growing with us. As we grow as an organisation, then those who want to can have the opportunity to grow their careers. But how do we give people visibility of what that could even look like? And so that they can plot their own, again, just become a little bit masters of your own destiny. The world of work is changing. People remain, very ambitious. There is a suggestion that the likes of Gen Z, for example, are very ambitious, and the pace in which they want to realise that ambition is a lot quicker than perhaps have been in the past. And so, to provide people with a really good understanding of how they might go about plotting their careers, what are the competencies that they might need, what are the development kind of sessions, what's their preferred learning style, and how do they access content in order to support that development. All of that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
And I am yet to find
Yeah.
utopia when it comes to delivering that.
Yeah, interesting. And I think as well, you mentioned it with the career side of hospitality. It's the new generations coming into the workforce. Often hospitality, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my experience is that hospitality, retail and leisure, those types of industries in terms of employee tenure can often be quite short.
Yeah.
And people come and they join perhaps at a young age and stay for a couple of years and then jump onto something else, when actually with the right training, if they could see the career progression, especially with a hotel group where they could move market or move department and get a new skill set and move into operations or the human resources area or whatever that looks like. If a new employee can't see that path early on, then they might be missed, and they might miss the career trajectory that they could have at the business. And we see that with retail and leisure as well. They're often quite short tenures that people have in these types of industries.
Yeah. And we missed a trick as well, with, so many people like yourself, Elly, have worked in a hotel or a restaurant or a bar or what have you as a job when they're studying.
Yeah.
So you might well be studying for thinking that you're on a particular path, but the amount of people that have kind of gone, actually, this is a whole new opportunity that I hadn't even considered.
Yeah.
So again, because we don't necessarily differentiate, if you're a part-time colleague of ours who can only work Saturdays and Sundays for us, it's very likely you're going to receive exactly the same training as somebody who works full-time for us, because we're still expecting the same level of service and the standards to be delivered regardless of what day of the week
that makes sense.
It is. And so to again provide people with access to what the potential could well be is something that might well help us in, as you say, making sure that we've got a lengthy tenure, as opposed to the attrition kind of levels that we see.
Yeah, great. And then when it comes to survey tools, so obviously at EDA we love talking about engagement surveys all day long. When it comes to engagement surveys, what's your opinion or take on them in general?
Yeah, no, I'm a huge advocate of them.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and I think very early on in my career I was introduced to, well, there were satisfaction surveys then, and then as you progress and start to really understand what's the difference between satisfaction versus engagement, and particularly around what the commercial advantages are, that's when you can really sit up and take notice, I think. So yeah, and I think the information that you glean from those surveys used in the correct kind of way, in a real meaningful and intentional way, it's invaluable. And I think some people can be a little bit dismissive, and some people label this as people's perceptions, but it's not perception. This is their reality.
Yeah.
And I think, particularly when you're in a corporate setting, you could be accused of kind of being very removed and, developing initiatives and frameworks and goodness knows what else in our case towards becoming an employer of choice. But if you don't ask your people what that actually means for them, you will be wasting a huge amount of time, effort and money in developing the wrong things that are going to provide the experience that actually your colleagues want.
Yeah. And they're the people on the ground who are speaking to customers day in, day out. So getting that data from them and their experience and helping them shape it a little bit in the future of Corinthia and the roadmap that you're trying to create, it's important to listen and they feel cared for and heard.
Yeah.
But obviously the challenge of when you have thousands of employees across the globe, it's quite tricky to do that on such a big level, and the volume of data that you're collecting is so vast.
Yes. Yeah.
So again, another challenge for you.
It is. But one of the things again that I think actually over the years it's become a little bit diluted is that I still, and this might be a bit traditional, but I still look at our engagement scores as a real measure of people manager competence or leadership competence or lack of. And so, yes, there is a huge amount of data on a global scale, but we also have a significant amount of people managers and leaders who are accountable for that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is one of the big shifts that I think certainly in in hospitality more so than any other sectors, in terms of the positioning of your people and culture, or your HR teams, whatever we happen to be called. This is not their accountability and their responsibility. This is the absolute responsibility and accountability of any of our people managers who have the single biggest impact on someone's experience when they come into work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does success look like for you? So say we sat here in these chairs in 2 years' time, and you could look back and think, yeah, we've nailed this. Perhaps 2 years is a little bit short. Let's maybe 3 years. In 3 years' time, you think, yeah, we've nailed that piece. What would that look like for you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and, you can list off all the different metrics, can't you? So, and then I thought, but actually success is having visibility of the data that is going to give me that understanding of how well we are progressing or not, with the usual things like, time to hire, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the really important factors is that we have been able to deliver on our promises. So in terms of that people strategy, so I've mentioned there, we want people to have careers that grow with us. We want people to feel as if they belong to something. We want people to be able to, participate in this growth. So if we have an opportunity to, I don't know, say we have developed somebody into the general manager that opens the hotel in the Maldives, for example, or opens the hotel, rather than having to bring in talent. 3 years, I don't know, again, I'm a little bit blind to where our kind of pockets of talent are at the moment, but that's what I would love. We've got a really interesting scenario whereby the new general manager for our Doha hotel that is due to open next year, he began his career with Corinthia at the Corinthia London. There wasn't any career progression for him, so he's gone off and honed his skills and developed kind of elsewhere. He's currently out in Doha, and we got back in touch with him, and he's now rejoining us.
Oh, that's such a good story. That's lovely.
He cannot wait.
Yeah, brilliant.
To come back home, I guess, is how he.
Oh, that's lovely. Emotional. Okay, brilliant. We are now going to do what we're going to call a fast feedback round.
Okay.
So we like very quick questions at Ida, as you'll know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce two things very quickly to you.
Yeah.
And without thinking, you have to pick one of them.
Oh, God.
Now, we're going to be doing this with every guest, so don't worry.
It's going to be really interesting. Okay.
So as quickly as possible, I'm going to say two things, and you just have to pick one of them straight away.
Okay.
There's no judgment. You're just going to have to pick.
I know. Don't overthink it.
So, first up, hybrid working. Here to stay or gone by 2030?
Here to stay.
Unlimited paid time off. Brilliant or a disaster waiting to happen?
Brilliant.
Strict hierarchy. Needed or outdated?
Outdated.
Microsoft Teams messages at 11 p.m. Horrifying or helpful?
Oh, depends on your time zone.
Oh, that's true, actually. Your time zone?
Helpful.
Okay, interesting. Gen Z employees, a dream or a nightmare?
A dream.
Reward or recognition?
Reward.
Hiring for attitude or experience?
A blend. Attitude.
Okay. Open plan office or private areas?
Open plan.
Annual performance review, essential or obsolete?
Obsolete.
Take a HR role, do it or don't?
Do it.
And finally, last couple of questions to wrap up. So, Kirsten, why do you love what you do?
The variety.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds a bit cliched, but, each individual, people are just the most fascinating individuals, aren't they? If you take the time to be curious about them, they are the most frustrating as well. But yeah, I do enjoy being in and around people. And I do it in this sector because I don't think there is any other sector that is as people-centric as hospitality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's day in, day out, just dealing with people constantly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So wonderful. And if if somebody who is watching or listening to this podcast is thinking about maybe going into the world of people management, leadership, I can't remember your first role, what did we call it? It was
personnel.
Into personnel. If they're going into personnel and they're considering a role in HR personnel, whatever you want to call it, what would be your one piece of advice that you'd give them?
Don't do it if you don't like people. And I know that sounds I have worked with a number of people professionals who I don't actually think like people.
Okay.
I think you make it your own, don't you? You know, so for me, this is about being at the heart of a business. You know, so you have to understand the commercial strategies as much as you understand the people, the people strategy. And it is less for me about there's a policy, a process and a procedure here, and much more about what is it that we're trying to achieve and how do we get there through our people.
Through people, yeah. Okay, brilliant. It's a really good piece of advice. And if anybody who is listening or watching wanted to get in touch with you, you don't have to. Can they get you through LinkedIn, or where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn, probably. Okay. It might take me a week or two to respond, but I do try and get back to people. So
okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing having you on the podcast.
You're welcome. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining the Meeting with HR podcast. We're going to continue to bring lots of different conversations on all things people and culture. I'm Elly from EDA, and we will see you next time.